planning a contingency in case it doesn't happen, that we can double back and with the contractor later.
Okay, so we have a meeting next week.
We have our
That's our last meeting this week.
Yeah. And then the 4th of May, so we're beginning. Yep, so. Okay. Everybody content with that one? We move along to the next. All right. The next item is, and again, these are more so just things that can have a brief discussion rather than anything else. But Kenichi Road status. Here a couple of years ago, or whenever it was.
I just want to make a comment, the more we talk about this, the more confused I get by it.
All right, very good. Well, we got you where we need you.
I just, because I really do, because I can remember that old road that went through there. I remember the concrete trucks
And that was
used to go through up there. Yeah, I remember that, but I'm just,
Corey, can I pass one of these out to help each person?
I'm good, thank you.
On one side of this, as you get it, you'll find the original plat, or what we think is the original, maybe a few words on it. And on the other side, you'll find the current zoning map, which shows the little road drawn in, and colored in with the yellow.
Well, anyway, this goes.
I don't want to say I'm afraid to keep on talking about it, but.
I mean, you don't have to, you just listen. Here, a couple, 3 years ago, whenever it was, I don't recall the dates, I just know that, the two, maintenance personnel from your city and our city, all of a sudden made a road change one day, and nobody was the wiser of it. The street that we had that went back and served the Kenichi property has been a Rushford Village Road of one name or another across to where you see it coming from the north in front of the Cho's property, and then it heads down to the Kenichi property along the property line between the Larson property and the Cho's property. When Bob and Jeff made this change, I remember I received a phone call from the city asking what in the world we were up to, because they moved it onto the Larson property, and I confessed I knew nothing. Anyway, we did find out that it originally came from the school district, because they were complaining about the sharp corner that needed to be made with the school bus to get back on Highway 43. So the two gentlemen, having had that discussion with the school bus driver, they decided they'd fix it. We had a letter a while ago in reference, there was a question in regards to the DAR's new development up there with, when Bob looked at it, he said, you know, the road isn't wide enough. Well, then come to find out that actually it isn't a street anymore, it is a easement of 16 feet. We've had a city street there. In fact, the gas plant that exists sits on our street. We're not going to move the gas plant. We don't necessarily need our street back. But we need to fix the access to the Kenichi property. And you know, if that road would have been vacated properly, the half of that road would have gone to the Cho's property. The other half was already the city's because you bought the Larson property. So there may be some compensation to the Cho's property because that property was purchased from them. But we still have an issue with access, and an easement isn't good enough. We need a street. We've had a street, and we need a street. Again, I don't expect that we need to do any more than just have a discussion, but we go, Rushford Village 32 is where it came off of this Rushford Village Road that went to the water tower. It was Rushford Village 32 that came off of that road that adjoined the Kenichi property between their land and ours. a 66-foot wide road. All of our roads are 66 feet wide. And now we have 16 feet of an easement. So I have no recommendations or solutions, other than we just need to get it resolved.
Question. It says vacated on here. When was it vacated?
My understanding that most of the road part that sits in the Larson land that you purchased was vacated when it was platted as your Rush Creek Business Park. The platting was commensurate with how you rearranged the property once the city owned it. There were other portions of the road to the very, up by the water tower that were recently vacated. It was a small remaining strip that was vacated just last year as we were working with Mr. Becker to clear up his property line.
But that's all in the city, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I mean, as a city, as a whole, that's, you can do what you wish to do.
That's right, so there is no more, I don't know, maybe there's more of this road somewhere else, but this part of Rushford Village Road from 43 out to here is gone. And specifically, that was double checked and triple checked, I believe, by the gas company, whatever that name of that firm is, when they exchanged property with the city for their past site to put their utility where it is. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I think the issue of the splitting up of the road between Chose has occurred, and his fence was actually sitting inappropriately placed way back when. So his distance of his ownership is actually probably closer to where the fence actually was. That's when the road was actually, his fence was actually sitting in right away of the road, and was too close to the road, but that happened way before my time. So I'm just kind of recollecting what the attorneys found when they worked with the gas company to transition the exchange of properties.
But if it wouldn't been that the road would have changed because of our two maintenance guys, that would still be a Rushford Village Road, and it's never been vacated.
I don't think so, Bertie. I think it was, and you may look at this differently, but I think what happened when the city platted it, part of the condition of the platting was to eliminate that road.
You can't eliminate it if we use it as a street.
I'm just telling you what happened. When any of the city bought that Larson property and decided to plat it and make it into this Rush Creek Business Park, that's what they did. I don't know, Scott, do you know?
Well, I pulled that resolution for vacating the road. It was recorded February of 2006. And that was just the first 700 feet. That would have been that 700 feet coming off 43 and right up essentially to the boundary of the current Rush Creek Business Park plat right there.
And that was to facilitate the exchange that I think then Mayor Robertson had started to initiate with the gas company to exchange the two properties.
Well, there was a portion of that deeded to Northern Natural Gas.
Yeah, that's good. That was.
But that was in February of 2006.